All right. 14:7. Hey, Saturn. Almost there. Back to Pisces. So they took Pusha, which is a nakshatra, not a deity, and Anuradha, which is also a nakshatra, not a deity, and put them in a mutable water sign as images. These two are nakshatras, changed from Pushya to Pushan and Pisces. And Anuradha is Andromeda. Get rid of that, all right? Since nakshatras can't have planets as traditional Vedic religion place lords of the nakshatras, okay, they gave them deities to alleviate their conflict in the East. Well, to alleviate this conflict for you, I will soon introduce another term to the West, very commonly used in the East. Again, not to discredit. All of this is avoided in textbooks for a reason. And no, it's not to separate church from state, but to hide actors. And that means the framers of the Western zodiac brought two Saturnian nakshatras and hid them as names and as symbols for Western constellations right in front of our eyes. Again, they swapped factors. They changed what Andor is. They reinvented the wheel. They changed what Saturn does in Pisces. Saturn's business is here. This is Mercury's business. But they put two Saturnian nakshatras into a Mercury nakshatra in the same water element. Let's see, water element, like they're playing on the billiard table, but mutable water. We understand Pisces as the 12th house, the last house of the natural zodiac, or of the Earth's zodiac, which is the sign of our dharma, the strength of our consciousness, how we handle loss, the loss of our consciousness. So when we say these two constellation names, these two here, when we say Andromeda, we are saying a hidden Saturnian nakshatra energy. Okay, that is turning Saturnian energy overriding Mercurian. The same with Pisces. It's turning one nakshatra from Cancer into an entire zodiac element and turning it Saturnian when it should be residual Jupiterian from left over from Aquarius, just one little piece of it, some Saturnian and some Mercurian. But instead we're releasing them as images of two fishes and as a woman in chains. Oh, and the chains. Let me show you something on that. What kind of chains are they? They are iron chains. What is the atomic number of iron? 26. The number of God. These are God's chains. Her chained condition is important. Where is it at? Give me a moment. These are God's chains. Her chain condition is important. It is the first thing you see about her in these images. These are chains of iron, and iron belongs to Mars. which is in the shared sign of Aries. The periodic element of iron is 26. So these, and being the number of God. So these chains are the chains of God. They are the only metal alchemically that is capable of chaining a god. Alchemically. Element 26, iron, right next to Aries, the age of iron weapons and shackles and chains. Isn't that a coincidence? What else has 26? The English alphabet. They had to put enough letters in it to make it 26. It is a Martian alphabet, cardinal, whose pride is egotism. It's where the sun exalts, where the sun is born in the alchemical wheel. But Mars is not their god. He is their interference play. I have plenty more about that and about the English alphabet coming up. But for now, I want to go into the Greek. All right. To explain what I'm about to say, I need to say something about the Greek language. It was the first language used to encode commercial activities into laws, or in laws, like Latin and French later became. It is the dominant legal language of its day. Not anymore, but it still retains its mechanisms in being a privileged language. What do I mean by this? There's two words that the word Greek comes from. One is the obvious, Graecia, which is the Roman description of the conquered territory, and as they call themselves, Greater Graecia. I think before their empire, when it was a republic. But it goes much deeper than that. This line from the rock always threw me off.
This is a pardon and release contract from the Attorney General's office. Now, it makes you a free man, provided you cooperate. So if you'll just sign where it says...
Signature.
That's, yes, signature.
Temiodeneus et dona Ferentus.
I fear the Greeks, even when they bring gifts.
Oh, an educated man.
Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is Proverbs 124. The proverb today is beware Greeks bearing gifts. Bearing gifts, giving gifts, having gifts. All right, so let's continue. This is a quote from Aeneid in Latin, and this is the actual Latin quote. Timeo danos et dona forantes, which nowadays basically is rephrased to beware Greeks bearing gifts.
All right. And over here in Wikipedia, beware Greeks bearing gifts. Uses in the popular culture, blah, 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 and by Sean Connery in the film The Rock. Okay. So that is what he said in that movie. Okay. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go much into my research, but basically it is true. Greek culture is not as homogeneous as school books lead us to believe. So for the scope of this presentation, I'm just going to boil it down to the Greek word, the Graecia word was chosen because they were to be an untouchable people, treated with grace, based on the cultural migration of the Danae. Why would they do this? Because the Danaos were pursuing avenues of what we call Greek philosophy, Greek academia, Greek schools of thought.
And I mean him well and love him. but he hoards his glory like a miser, while we sit here at Mietze at the feet of Aristotle and learn of great wonders, of science, of mathematics, of history, and of logic. And maybe someday one of us will write a book and be known as the pupil of Aristotle.
Everything that is based on the human condition, the Greek hermetics, the body-focused pursuits, sculpture, stone appreciation of man, with his stellar contract removed. His stellar contract, which is this wheel. It's all body-oriented, body inward knowledge that the world supposedly had never seen before. And basically the Romans were told to respect that, at least before their empire. Now what is the older word that the Romans took to call the land of the migrating, wandering, denied grace? As the Danos were developing a body-oriented science to replace Eastern science. Again, to replace the Eastern science, such as the Vedic, the Romans called the land Grace, Gracia, and grace comes from the Vedic Sanskrit graha. Graha, graha. And what does graha mean? Sanskrit dictionary, graha. Planets.
Here's your sign.
But more than that. Oops, wrong one. But more than that. It's a word, it goes deeper than that, a deeper understanding of what a planet really is, how it connects to you and to the body. It's a word that considers the planet as a luminary, as above, so below, as without, so within. It's like the urban legend where the Eskimos have 40 different words for snow, one for every variety of snow. Graha has that much depth of air knowledge. That's the real joke about philosophy. A culture of science ignoring planets being called planet. We know from Levet that Greek is flipped Aramaic, but it's a culture of higher self-denial, all because of its alphabet and word use. Okay. These words, anthropo, Adonis, put man on the bottom. See this nadir? Drain, radon, drone, neater, redden, put it on the bottom. Ignoring his divinity and by giving it straight to Zeus, a character outside of yourself. Their legacy of higher denial, immunity, still lives to this day. In fact, I also want to give a thank you to this subscriber. She helped me out big time because I did forget. Andromeda caught her attention because it's interesting that they say good morning as Kalimera. And I said, very good insight. Lowly mother in English, Andromeda, lowly mother, can be man's day in Greek. Man's day in Greek. Another interesting coincidence. Thank you, the Red Baroness. You helped me a lot on that one. Okay, here's Greta Gracia. The Greek words carried over into English as medicinal when it's all philosophical. I'll illustrate with a few common words. In Greek, Kali means good in feminine form. To the Hindu, Kali is a destructive goddess of chaos. Kali in Sanskrit, the chaos comes in the form of a goddess. But Kali in Sanskrit also means one in relation to a complete four. Where in the Golden Age, the bull, consciousness, stands on all four legs. But when we go into the Silver Age, consciousness stands on three legs. When we go into the Bronze Age, consciousness stands on one leg. And when we go into the Kali Yuga, consciousness stands only on one leg. That's what that represents. I will continue in a moment with some more.